Have you ever wondered why two people can go through the same hardship, yet one collapses while the other rises stronger than ever? I once met a man, 55 years old, who lost everything in just 1 year. His career vanished, his family broke apart, and his friends turned away. In despair, he said to me, "I have nothing left." I looked him in the eyes and replied, "No, you still have your mind." And that was the only thing he needed to start over. What makes a person victorious is not youth strength or luck, it's how they think when everything falls apart. I've met people 10 years older than me whose minds retired 20 years ago. They're alive, but they no longer believe they can change. And I've met people in their 70s whose eyes still burn like fire, still learning, still working, still believing that as long as they breathe, they can grow. So what creates the difference between those two kinds of people? It's not money. It's not health. It's the education level of the mind. Not the kind of education you get in school, but how you train your mind to respond to adversity. An educated mind sees opportunity in difficulty. An uneducated mind only sees failure in everything. I used to be lost myself. 30 years ago, when my career collapsed, I thought, maybe I'm done. Then I came across a quote from Miles Monroe, "You don't live by what you have, you live by what you believe." That line woke me up. I realized that every limitation in life begins in the mind. And if you change your thinking, you can change your entire life. Today, I want to share with you how to educate your mind to overcome anything, whether you're 30, 50, or 70, because as long as you can still think, you can still be reborn. I remember a saying from an old friend, a retired professor, "We don't stop living when we grow old. We only truly grow old when we stop learning." That sentence has stayed with me for more than 30 years. And I've realized that learning isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about learning how to manage your mind every single day. 1. The mind, the soil that determines your life. You know, our mind is like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds, weeds will grow. If you don't choose positive thoughts, negative ones will take over automatically. I've worked with hundreds of people over 50, and there's one thing in common among those who can't change their lives. They don't know how to manage the garden of their mind. They let worry, fear, and regret from the past occupy all the space where hope and faith should grow. But those who deliberately tend their mental garden, who read, pray, journal, reflect, and cultivate gratitude, they appear younger than their age and overflow with life energy. I often ask them, have you watered your faith today? Because if you haven't, fear will grow in its place. 2. The world doesn't destroy you, your thoughts do. I once met a woman who lost both her husband and her job in the same year. She fell into deep depression and nearly gave up on life. Then one day she heard a sermon that said, "You can't control the storm, but you can control your sail." She began writing down 3 things she was grateful for every morning. Even simple things like, "I still have my breath, I can see the sunlight," or "I have a warm cup of coffee." 3 months later, she told me, "I don't know why, but I feel so peaceful." I smiled and said, "Because you've started educating your mind to see light in the darkness." The world hadn't changed, but the way she saw it had. That is the power of a trained mind. 3. The lesson from the lion. I love the example Miles Monroe once gave. The lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle, but it is the king. Why? Because it thinks like a king. When a lion sees an elephant, it doesn't see a giant creature, it sees lunch. When the elephant sees the lion, it thinks predator. The same situation, 2 different minds, 2 completely different outcomes. In life, when facing hardship, an educated mind says, "This challenge will make me stronger," while an untrained mind says, "Why me?" The first learns the lesson, the second only feels the pain. And just that single difference in mindset leads them down opposite paths. 4. The inner warrior mindset. I call it the inner warrior mindset. A true warrior isn't someone who never feels fear, it's someone who learns to turn fear into fuel. An educated mind knows how to say, "I'm afraid, but I'll move forward anyway." You may not be able to control your emotions, but you can always choose your response, and that choice defines you. The most successful people I've coached aren't perfect, but they all share one habit. They train their minds daily, just as an athlete trains their muscles. They spend at least 30 minutes reading, meditating, praying, or reflecting. It's not a luxury, it's mental hygiene. You can't live a strong life without building a strong mind. 5. The power of words and belief. I once asked a man, "What do you say to yourself every morning?" He replied, "I tell myself I'm a failure." I looked at him and said, "And that's exactly what you've become." Words are seeds planted in the mind. If you speak negativity daily, you dig a grave for your own faith. But if you speak positivity, your mind will eventually believe it, and your actions will start to follow. Try simple affirmations like, I am enough, I am loved, I am improving every day, I can overcome this. You don't need to shout them, just say them with belief. Because every great change begins with a small declaration. 6. The mind needs exercise just like the body. At 60, I still work out every morning, not to stay young, but to keep my mind sharp. And I've found that mental exercise is just as essential. I always share 3 daily practices with my students. 1. Gratitude journaling. Write down at least 3 things you're thankful for. 2. Positive self-talk. Replace every self-criticism with self-encouragement. 3. Moments of stillness. Spend 10 minutes each day breathing silent. No screens, no news. Do these 3 simple things for 30 days, and you can literally rewire your brain. Science calls it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself. Faith calls it renewing the mind. Both mean the same thing. You can recreate yourself. 7. Mental discipline, the foundation of freedom. Many think discipline is restriction, but discipline is actually the path to freedom. Without discipline, you're a slave to your emotions. With discipline, you're the captain of your ship. I once coached a group of middle-aged adults who wanted to transform their lives. The most successful one wasn't the smartest. She was the most disciplined. She woke early, read the Bible, exercised, and wrote down 3 good things each day. After 3 months, she said, I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. I smiled. You're still you, but your mind has been reprogrammed. Sometimes you don't need a miracle. You just need the right habit practiced long enough. 8. Don't let the past teach you the wrong lesson. One of humanity's biggest mistakes is letting the past define who we are. I know people still living inside mistakes from 20 years ago. Every time they try something new, they hear a voice whisper, you failed before, remember? I tell them, the past is not a sentence, it's a syllabus. You can't change what happened, but you can change how you think about it. If you view the past as a teacher, you'll grow. If you view it as a wound, you'll stay hurt. An educated mind doesn't deny the past, it transforms it into strength. 9. The power of purpose. Every morning, ask yourself, what am I waking up for? If you have no answer, you'll feel tired even when you do nothing. But when you have a purpose, you can endure almost anything. I remember Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, once said, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. I believe that deeply. I've seen people in their 70s and 80s bursting with energy because they have a reason to wake up to teach a grandchild, write a book, or simply spread kindness. A mind without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. It drifts and crashes into rocks. But when you know why you live, every challenge becomes a lesson on your journey. 10. Educating the mind with God's Word. When I was young, I read the Bible out of duty. Now I read it for life. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's not just a religious statement, it's a profound psychological truth. If you want your life to change, you must first change your way of thinking. Each morning, I read scripture and ask, what is this verse teaching my mind today? Each line became a brick, slowly building within me an unshakable faith. And I realized, peace doesn't come when the storm stops. It comes when your mind learns to be calm in the storm. 11. The journey of renewal. Let me say this slowly. Educating the mind is not a one-day task, it's a lifelong journey. You will stumble, you will forget, you will have days you want to quit. But remember, the mind is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Today you choose to believe something good. Tomorrow it becomes easier. And one day you'll realize that the things that once terrified you are now just small lessons. You'll smile knowing you've won not over the world, but over yourself. 12. Final message. The power of an educated mind. Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what am I teaching my mind every day? Because if you teach it fear, you'll live in fear. If you teach it gratitude, you'll live in peace. If you teach it faith, you'll live in strength. You can lose your job, your money, even people you love, but never lose your educated mind, because that is the foundation of every recovery, every rebirth, every new beginning. I've lived long enough to know that every storm passes and every wound can heal if your mind remains steady. So educate your mind every day because it is your most faithful teacher and your strongest companion on this journey called life. You know, life never stops testing us. Every morning when you open your eyes, the world sends you a new exam. It could be loneliness, failure, pain, loss. But you always have a choice in how to respond. And that choice, not the circumstance, will shape your life. Your mind is both a battlefield and a treasure. It can imprison you in fear, or it can set you free. It can trap you in your past, or it can create a future you never imagined. It all begins with one small decision. I will no longer let circumstances control my mind. I will learn to think differently. If today you feel tired, disappointed, or hopeless, remember this. Every great person once stood in the same darkness you're facing now. No one is born with a strong mind. They train it every single day, just like building muscles. A strong mind doesn't mean being fearless. It means moving forward, even when fear is still there. I want you to remember 3 things. First, you don't need to be perfect to begin. You only need to begin to become perfect. There's no right time to change. There's only the moment you decide that enough is enough. Second, don't believe everything your mind tells you. An uneducated mind says, I can't. But an educated mind responds, I'll learn how to. How you speak to yourself matters more than any advice from others. And finally, be grateful for what you have. Gratitude doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable. Because when you're grateful, you're telling the universe, I'm ready to receive more good things. Every day, take at least 10 minutes to sit quietly. Breathe deeply and tell yourself, I am learning. I am growing. I am being guided by God. Repeat it long enough and your mind will believe, and when your mind believes, your life will change. If what I've shared today has touched you, don't let it fade away as just another video in your playlist. Turn it into action. After this video, do 3 simple things. Write down 1 negative belief that's been holding you back. 2. Next to it, write a new empowering belief, even if you don't fully believe it yet. 3. Repeat that new belief every morning in front of the mirror with your own voice. For example, I'm not good enough. I'm becoming better every day. I'm too old to start over. I have the wisdom to start smarter. I've lost everything. I still have myself, and that's the greatest beginning. Then comment below this video, I am re-educating my mind, because when you write it, you declare that your journey has begun. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so each week you'll receive more insights to refresh your mind and strengthen your faith. I don't just want to speak to you through a screen. I want to walk with you on this journey of growth. I've lived long enough to know this. Life doesn't reward the fastest. It rewards the most persistent. You don't have to run. You just have to not give up. No matter your age, 30, 50, or 70, you can still start again. I've seen 65-year-olds learn an instrument, 70-year-olds start a business, 75-year-olds write their first book. You are never too late unless you stop believing you can. Look back at your life. Every pain that once broke you has now made you stronger. Challenges don't come to destroy you. They come to shape you into the person you were meant to become. And if no one has told you this today, let me be the one to say it. You are enough. You are strong. And you deserve a better life. Educating your mind is not a one-day mission, it's a lifelong journey. Every thought you choose today is a seed for tomorrow. So choose wisely, plant faith, and you will harvest freedom. If I can still change, so can you. Always remember, you don't live by what you have, you live by what you believe. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, live fully, learn deeply, and love with an educated mind.